My name is Peter Dice. I'm a local Phoenix artist, and this is my show. Over the years, I have worked in very complex forms, a little bit more complex than this out here, where it was all about the lines, the fluidity, the movement, everything entangling and feeling that sort of energy. As I've gotten older, I have focused more on the minimalism and the simplicity of specific lines within that structure. I like to say that my mom is insane, but if she sees this, she would be very upset at me. But you can still put that in there. My mom was like a biology major, California surfer. My dad is an engineer. He transplanted her to Phoenix, and I think that drove her crazy from living at the beach to 1970s Phoenix. The crazy is what creates, and the engineering is what solves the problem of what you're trying to do. So I really think, sculpture is three-dimensional. You're playing God. You really are. You are creating something and breathing life into it. And in that process, that's what I like. It's not that I don't care about the end, but it's not as important to me as getting there. As the studio I had at my house, I kept burning shit down, like the fence, the neighbor's barn, So I asked her if I could use this lot for about 3 or 4 weeks to work on a large piece for a show, and that was 20 years ago. I came in, put up these walls, the studio goes back there, planted this tree from a seed, actually the day that my son was born. I have 2 kids. Their mom passed away in October. She died in October, and that's right when the winter began to approach. The trees died, the river died back, and I got to see death and death. So death of a river that was green and lush and birds and sea lion or sea river otters, etc., and horses go down to just me. And so it was this sort of cathartic moment where I was processing her death, and the river was dying as well. As that river came back around and the buds came back out and the birds came back out was when this piece was being finished. And it dawned on me, it was like this whole life cycle where I know she's dead, but it's not dead like dead gone. It's dead gone for me. This cycle where the water goes away, the green goes away, the animals go away, but they all just come back around in their own way. So the water started to flow again. The greenery came back, and it was like, wow, it was kind of this moment. So this show I put together with this idea of the flow of the river. I don't consider myself an artist. I don't consider myself an engineer. I consider myself somebody who has ideas and then is trying to translate those ideas to share with other people.
My name is Ashley Macias. I'm primarily a surrealist. Painting is something that I've been doing since I can remember. I've always enjoyed creating, painting, finger painting, any way I can be creative. It's just something that I've always wanted to do since I was a child, basically. So I don't think there was a particular moment when I called myself an artist. I think it's just something I always felt I was. It's just something I feel inside of myself. Just this deep desire to create and share that with people. When I'm creating, it's my way of expressing myself or, sharing deeper parts of myself overall. When I'm creating, a lot of my process is very fluid. I really do like to approach things in a very emotional way. So in a lot of ways, I could be a splash of color or a line, and I really like to take these fluid imageries and just kind of see what comes of them, kind of like a flower blooming in a lot of ways. I like to create random things out of, you know, chaos of texture and lines, and bring them back together and create something really fluid. And I use eyes a lot in my work to kind of demonstrate like looking deeper into your consciousness. So in a lot of ways, the eyes are kind of like the window of the soul. So I use that a lot in my work just to kind of get us in touch with like these different elements of nature and colors, and like the deeper evocation of, you know, the human mind and you know, the chaos around us, basically. I guess the reaction I want, or at least I hope that people can take from viewing my art, is something that speaks to them on a more deep and emotional level, whether that's, you know, through the colors or through the imagery itself. I think I'm just always looking to connect from the heart with my audience. Art can be a really powerful tool. I really think that it can bring communities together, but also shed light on new perspectives. And I think it's really great to create those different perspectives so we can kind of have this diversity of, you know, creative minds and thoughts, and, you know, provoke thoughts.
I am Misty Mayhem. I am a tattoo artist in Phoenix, Arizona. I was drawing way before tattooing. Was painting, drawing as long as I can remember. Drawing first, so it all just came natural. I was introduced to tattooing when I was 14, and that was just something I always wanted to do as a career. And I wasn't sure. I always wanted to do some kind of art form as a career, but as soon as I was introduced to tattooing, I'm like, that's what I want to do. You're tattooing on skin, so it's definitely different than working with canvas or paper. So it's like a curved, pretty much, it's an alive canvas. Even the feeling is different. You know, you have to think too, what you're putting on a body, how is it going to look in 10, 20 years? So you kind of have to design a tattoo to what will look good in 15, 20 years. Someone wants an idea, like a bunch of little ideas into one spot, or something really tiny, that's a little difficult. So you kind of have to take away a few things than what would look good, you know, just on paper or canvas. So you have to think about those things as well. You're pretty much building a bond. These people are trusting you to put something on their body. It's definitely a bond because you're spending hours together. In my tribe and culture, tattooing was a part of my culture as well. So seeing those, you know, it's like, you know, tattoo art was, you know, here, you know, for centuries. They have different meanings, you know. For tattooing, it started off as a dark story. My tribe on my mother's side, that started off with like face markings. So that was to make sure, you know, these women, it was mostly the women that got tattooed. So make sure these women are from this tribe. So if, you know, women in our tribe were stolen or taken, they would know what tribe we were from.
This one kind of came to me as, this is a bear skull, so I am a Bear Clan on my father's side, and I always incorporate purples, magentas, teals.
It's definitely an honor, you know, because someone is getting your artwork permanently tattooed on them, and if they admire your work, that's a big honor.
Don't go to the corner store today. You might get shot, you might get hurt, you might go down, she told me.
I was born in New York, but I would say Philadelphia is my hometown.
I'm from Michigan originally.
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Phoenix, Arizona.
So because we're all from different backgrounds and we have different type of musical experiences, that's what makes this so beautiful.
Whatever's going on in the news at the time or whatever's happening in our community at the time, we kind of, if we're outraged about something, we all kind of have a discussion about it. And these discussions sometimes are uncomfortable. And that leads to a really great song, Afrobeat style, because it's meant to make you uncomfortable.
The things that happen in the world today, there's so much to like even talk about, to raise a question, even if we don't have solutions, you know. And then that gives power, and we feel it back.
And I believe it is a revolutionary, very political thing to write a song about the things that we write about and put it out and let the community members hear it and chant it and even rally them in some moments and instances. Yes, to answer that question is very political and it's on purpose.
It's not a soft power. Like Bela said, music is the weapon. Music is the weapon of the future.
You know, a lot of the people that discover us don't discover us necessarily because of the political aspect of it. We groove, right? We're playing music and it's music that you can dance to, and it sounds like celebration music, but when you dig in to the lyrics and to the message that we're putting out, that's the powerful part of the message that we're putting out, right? Those lyrics, which is not always the first thing that somebody listens.
My name is Solomon. I think of myself as a figurative painter. I don't think I decided that I wanted to be an artist. I think it's one of those things that just happened. I was 5 years old in Gigadoo, a town in Guinea, when they had a civil dispute, and that, had me and my family relocated to a refugee camp. And the kicker was, I used to stutter. There's no way I could, in a way, transfer my thoughts through my mouth, out in the world. So I had to figure out a way to do that. So I found myself in a corner drawing and doodling. And that's how this came about. And around that time, even though I didn't have any references or any idea of what an artist was or what an artist do, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I'll start with this. Oftentimes when I'm painting or before I start a painting, I like to reflect on other artists' work that inspire me. And these pictures come from a very prolific photographer from Mali, Misty Mayhem. I just finished a 15-foot by 8-foot painting, and I wanted to, in a way, reflect on what he was thinking in the mid-60s, early 70s when he captured these photos, these series. Mali had just gained its independence, and he recorded those moments. So I kind of wanted to, in a way, take his footsteps and use them to do what I do, do it in my own way. The self-portrait is the most difficult to paint because it allows you to peel the covering layers, right? It allows you to actually go deep within. When you have to sit down in front of yourself for X amount of hours, just looking at yourself and analyzing every pore, I mean, it's profound. You can't run away from yourself, right? I like to think of myself as an honest painter. So when I approach a painting, I leave myself behind, my daily bouquet behind the door, and I walk into the studio ready to just be in the moment and to just express as honestly as I can. And I think that's why people connect to my work, even if they don't have language to describe it. It's because, I'm not afraid to peel the intimate layer. the artist has a responsibility to show the way, in a way. Because I think we've been blessed with this ability to see the future. And sometimes, we're the only ones that can pave the way for the rest of society to follow. We take situations that are not up to par, come in, make it beautiful, and then let everyone else come and enjoy it. And it's also the artist's responsibility to comment on society.
My name is Sarko Guerrero, and this is my studio. People know me as a mask maker. My family were the Mexicans that were here in the Southwest when this was Mexico. So we were never immigrants to this country. For thousands of years we were migrants. So that's the term I prefer to use, of migrant, indigenous migrant background. To put on a mask means to assume the identity of someone or something else. The mask to me is fascinating because when I put on a mask, when I use the mask, I look for the power of the mask, and that power is the mask has the ability, or gives me the ability, to disappear behind the mask. So my identity is not important anymore. What's important is the identity, the character of the mask that I'm trying to portray. And many of my masks are carved out of mahogany, different types of mahogany. This mask is called Hanya, and it's a series of masks that I studied over many years in Japan called the No mask. So I was fortunate to study under the apprenticeship of Joshun Fukakusa in Kyoto, Japan, where I studied the art of carving the Japanese No theater mask. The mask is a wonderful metaphor for the things that we do. I mean, especially now during the time of COVID and this post-COVID, whatever, this idea of masking, of hiding our identity. Exactly what happens with the COVID mask. We put on these masks. I feel when I go someplace, I'm invisible. Because we're not looking at each other anymore. We don't have those same cues. We have our eyes, and I've been looking at people's eyes and to see if I can read what they're saying, but it is very difficult without the smile. So in a sense, we are disappearing. We have lost part of our identity, but at the same time, we've assumed a common identity. As a people, for whatever reason, now we're hiding behind the mask, which also serves as a shield to protect us from others. So it's a wonderful metaphor. This year of COVID is something that I've really been investigating, expressing, and I want to explore the idea of this COVID type mask. What happens now? To mask or not to mask? That is the question. As an artist, it's not enough just to make art. I want art to be part of what's happening in our society, in our community. We have wonderful festivals, celebrations here in the Southwest, and many more of our indigenous traditions are coming back. We're bringing them back. The artists are bringing them back. So it's a way of sharing this gift of ancestral celebration that many of us have lost. And now it's time to